Imagine waking up to a quiet morning, the light filtering through your window, the sound of footsteps in the hallway, the voice of someone you love calling your name. Everything appears normal, comforting even, but something is wrong. You can't quite explain it. You look at the face in front of you, the face of your partner, your mother, your child. It's perfect, familiar in every way. And yet, a whisper crawls through your thoughts. This is not them. They smile, they laugh, they remember the same things you do, but behind the eyes, there is nothing. The warmth that once tethered you to this person has vanished. In its place, emptiness. You try to reason with yourself. Maybe you're tired. Maybe your mind is playing tricks. But the feeling only deepens. The person in front of you is not who they claim to be. This experience isn't a fictional trope from some psychological thriller. It is real, documented, feared. It is known as Capgras Delusion. Named after the French psychiatrist Joseph Capgras, who first described it over a century ago, this rare psychiatric condition convinces the mind that someone close, someone deeply loved, has been replaced by an impostor. Not a monster, not a disfigured stand-in, but a perfect replica, and that's what makes it so disturbing. Because the world, to the eyes, remains intact. But to the heart, it is all falling apart. Capgras reveals something profound. That love, recognition, connection are not just logical, visual, or even verbal. They are emotional, silent, invisible. They are felt. And when the emotional current that binds us to another person breaks, our reality begins to rewrite itself. Take the story of a woman, Elena. After surviving a traumatic accident, she began insisting that her husband was not her husband. He looked the same, spoke the same, even brought out old photos, wedding pictures, family trips, home videos. But nothing could convince her. To her, he was a stranger, an infiltrator, someone who had learned her husband's patterns, but not his soul. She lived in fear of him. She slept with the door locked. She told neighbors she was being watched. The man she had loved for decades was now a threat wearing a familiar smile. Capgras can go even further. Some people believe their entire family has been replaced. Others believe that pets, neighbors, even their own reflection are imposters. Some construct complex stories to explain what's happening. Spy rings, alien abductions, synthetic doubles, secret cloning programs. But beneath those elaborate tales is one common thread. The brain is desperately trying to make sense of a world that feels wrong. And in doing so, it creates a version of reality that fits the feeling, even if it doesn't fit the facts. So what causes this? Scientists believe it stems from a disruption between two key parts of the brain. One that recognizes faces, and another that assigns emotional significance to those faces. When that link breaks, the brain can still say, yes, that looks like my father. But it no longer feels like him, no comfort, no connection. And so the mind does what it always does. It seeks meaning. It fills in the emotional silence with story. And the story becomes a delusion. Neurologists often find damage to areas like the right temporal lobe and the amygdala. regions responsible for facial processing and emotional memory. Capgras is most commonly triggered by brain injuries, strokes, or neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or Lewy body dementia. But its implications stretch far beyond medicine. Because Capgras doesn't just expose a rare condition, it exposes how fragile our sense of reality truly is. It shows us that trust, love, and identity are not fixed by logic, but held together by something softer, something we often take for granted, the silent reassurance of emotion. And when that emotional glue fades, everything starts to crack. Now, here's a question that's quietly approaching our future. What happens when the world around us becomes filled with perfect copies? Digital voices that sound like our loved ones. Artificial faces generated by neural networks. AI personalities trained to replicate anyone we've ever known. Could we induce Capgras deliberately? Could we blur the lines so much that we begin to question everyone around us? Even ourselves? In this possible future, Capgras may not be a disorder at all. It may become an adaptation, a defense against a world flooded with illusions, a firewall against deception so convincing emotion becomes our last refuge. The tragedy of Capgras is not in seeing a stranger. It's in seeing someone you love and feeling absolutely nothing. No spark, no pull, no recognition, just a face and a gnawing question. Who are you? Capgras invites us to reflect not just on the brain, but on the human experience itself. What does it mean to know someone, to love someone, and what happens when that knowing is erased? Not from memory, but from feeling. So if you can look into someone's eyes and feel the warmth of recognition, the quiet gravity of shared history, be grateful, because for some, that connection has been severed, and all that remains is a stage filled with actors playing parts they never chose in a world that no longer feels real. And for those who live with Capgras, the final question never stops echoing, who is real? And am I one of them?